Part 64. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 631. At this moment, a beautiful silhouette stands at the foot of Kunlun Mountain, contrasting with the beautiful scenery. The owner of Chianying is about 1.7 meters tall, slim and tall, with an oval face and delicate and beautiful facial features, like the most perfect masterpiece in heaven and earth. She looked like she was about 20 years old, with a face that was stunning to the whole world. She was the kind of beauty that could be remembered for a lifetime just by looking at it. And this stunning beauty is none other than Fuma, Sufurong. Women are born to love beauty. As early as more than 100 years ago, that time was Suwuji's era. All the good things in the world, whether they are elixir secrets or natural treasures, all forces will try their best to pay tribute to Suwuji in order to please Suwuji and seek Suwuji's asylum. Among them, there are naturally many ancient elixirs that defy the heavens. As the youngest disciple of Suwuji, Sufurong was also the only female disciple. She was favored by her master and senior brothers, and she was always the first to choose any good thing. Even Suwuji's biological son Sukyankan had to step aside. After all, at that time, Sukyankan was just an ordinary dandy with no knowledge or skills. Sufurong was a girl, and it was her nature to love beauty, so she took an ancient elixir that would keep her appearance forever, and her appearance would never change. Later, during the Kunlun Mountain incident, Sufurong rescued Sukyankan and kept her name anonymous, not daring to show her face again to avoid attracting the enemy's attention. Therefore, Sufurong, who is proficient in the art of disguise, disguised herself as an old man. For more than 100 years, she has maintained her old appearance no matter when. Nowadays, Sufurong broke through to the realm of Wuzun, and her strength was greatly improved. Major changes have also taken place in the world of ancient martial arts. Su Yang even initiated a revolution in ancient martial arts and enlightened 10 martial masters. The most important thing is that the overall strength of the ancient martial arts world will be greatly improved. Therefore, Sufurong has no need and does not want to hide anymore. Sufurong, who had returned to her original appearance, was still wearing her original clothes, a set of grey old man's clothes. Originally, this set of clothes was rustic, something only old people would wear, and it was lifeless. But now, Sufurong has a unique charm and a special sense of beauty when worn on her body. Why? Kunlun Mountain, Kunlun Mountain. Sufurong looked at the endless mountains in front of her and couldn't help but sigh. All 10 of our disciples practice the ancient martial arts system. My senior brothers, Ximen Fenjiun, Su Zhanlong, Su Qing'ai, Su Bufan, each one of them is a genius with amazing talents in the ancient martial arts world. If at that time, there was still a realm above the land martial god, why would the Kunlun Su family have to swallow their anger and suffer such humiliation? Sufurong's eyes turned slightly red, and then she smiled and said, "But it's fine now. The ancient martial arts revolution has been successfully launched. Senior brothers, our era has come. From now on, we no longer have to be threatened by those people and can appear openly and openly." Sufurong muttered to herself, then noticed the battle at the ancestral grave of the Ximen family, and smiled softly. The strength of the young master is really not weak. He has just entered the foundation building, and he can actually be comparable to the peak of the foundation building. With the master, your grace. Immediately afterwards, Sufurong's figure flickered, disappeared on the spot, and went straight to the Ximen family's ancestral grave. At the same time, the battle between Su Yang and Ximen Fenjiun continued. The two fought from mid-air to the ground, and then from the ground to mid-air. They were inseparable. During this period, Su Yang continued to use Beishi Samsara Fist against Ximen Fenjiun. But Ximen Fenjiun's determination was beyond Su Yang's judgment, and the 100-life reincarnation fist could not affect him at all. On the contrary, Ximan Fengyun used many secret techniques. Although he did not use the treasure, some other methods emerged one after another, which was quite tricky. Fortunately, Su Yang's soul power is powerful, and coupled with his strong spiritual energy, he can barely suppress Ximan Fengyun. Boom! At this moment, the two collided again, and then stood opposite each other, looking at each other from a distance. Su Yang. But at this moment, Su Furong suddenly appeared, her figure flashing, blocking the front of Ximan Fengyun, and said hurriedly, "Buzz. If this is all your strength, then I will send you back to the west. Ximan Fengyun, what happened to you today is entirely your own fault." Ximan Fengyun's condensed defensive barrier began to show cracks like the Spider King, and finally collapsed. Snort. After the words fell, Su Yang thought, took out the sky sword and held it in his hand. The Kangsheng sword exudes cold light, and its terrifying sword intent makes people's hearts palpitate. As long as it falls, it can cut off Ximan Fengyun's head. Shut up. Seeing this, Ximan Fengyun did not sit still and wait for death. He stood on the spot and mobilized all his spiritual energy, planning to fight to the death. Clang. With the Kangkyang sword in hand, Su Yang's aura suddenly changed dramatically, and his power became more than twice as powerful as before. Su Yang was also slightly injured and spat out a mouthful of bloody saliva, saying in a cold voice, "You are an ambitious traitor, you have no right to call me grandpa and master." Original. Young master, stop, you can't kill him, he is the one who saves the Kunlun Su family. Su Yang can destroy the peak of foundation building, but Ximan Fengyun is extraordinary. He is the kind of genius who can fight beyond the level. His combat power is comparable to that of a first-turn fake elixir, but it is more difficult. Ximan Fengyun wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said with a smile, "You can fight me to this point. I have to say that you are really outstanding. I see the shadow of master in you. There is someone to succeed master. Now, I will send you down to apologize to the seniors and martyrs of the Su family." Puff. The next moment, Su Yang held the sky sword and stabbed it on the barrier, and a crisp sound came from all around. Zheng. Immediately, Ximan Fengyun lay on the ground, clutching his chest, spurting out a pool of blood, his breath was weak, and his face was extremely pale. In an instant, majestic spiritual energy gathered in his palm, forming a defensive barrier. Ximan Fengyun's body flew upside down for 3 to 4 meters and pressed heavily on the ground. P.S. Thank you to the kindergarten for being the leader, Su Er's cat, thank you to the two masters for recognizing and rewarding, brothers, send free gifts when you are free, and give a thumbs up if you can, please, tomorrow. The plot is guaranteed to be eye-catching. At this time. Of course, he didn't need to say anything about this. Su Yang was already walking up to him with the sky sword in his hand. But in order to save time, Su Yang directly used the sky sword, intending to quickly resolve the battle. Su Yang thought Ximan Fengyun was provoking him, so he snorted coldly, held the sky sword, and suddenly killed Ximan Fengyun. Of course, if the fight continues, Su Yang is still sure to defeat him. After saying that, Su Yang squinted his eyes slightly, with murderous intent in his eyes, and raised the sky sword high in his hand. Su Yang, you can't wait to kill me, haha, I'm waiting for you to kill me. Ximan Fengyun was confident and just smiled softly. Then, there was a sound like glass breaking. Now that Su Yang has successfully built the foundation, he can use the sky sword to a greater extent. Ximan Fengyun looked at Su Yang with joy, showed a smile, and said weakly, I lost, Su Yang, now you can kill me. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 632. The sudden appearance of Su Furong made Su Yang frown and stop what he was doing. Immediately afterwards, Su Yang moved his eyes to look at Su Furong, and was immediately stunned by Su Furong's appearance. To describe this woman as beautiful and fragrant is not an exaggeration at all. She is simply the best in the world. Certainly. What attracted Su Yang was not all her appearance, but the feeling she made Su Yang feel. Su Yang vaguely felt that this woman was very familiar, but in his impression, he was not her. After staring carefully, Su Yang showed a look of surprise and couldn't help but ask curiously, "Are you, Fu's mother?" Yes, Su Furong nodded and said truthfully, "Young master, it's me." This. After getting the definite answer, not only Su Yang, but also everyone else at the scene was stunned. "Fu Ma, you are not senile, why did you suddenly become a young girl?" Su Yang asked intermittently. "That's how I am." Su Furong explained, "More than 100 years ago, I took the elixir that would keep my appearance forever. As far as I know, there are 2 pills of that kind, one of which was eaten by someone more than 2,000 years ago." Su Furong smiled and said, "The remaining one was obtained when my master Su Wuzi was threatening the world and was given to me. So, I will never grow old. I just disguised myself like that to deceive others." Su Furong explained clearly, and then said, "Why, young master, are you so surprised? It's more than stunning, it's almost frightening." "Okay," Su Yang couldn't help but say. He, young master, what's so surprising? I hugged you when you were a child." Su Furong said without hesitation, "I remember very clearly that you didn't like to eat at that time, so I chewed it up and fed it to you. You ate deliciously. Also, when you were 7 or 8 years old, you still took a bath with me, so you should never be restrained in front of me," Su Furong added. You. Originally, Su Yang thought it was nothing, but when Fu Ma said this, his face instantly turned red, and he was so ashamed that he wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl in. Shameful. It's so embarrassing. In the past, Su Yang thought Fu's mother was too old, so she really didn't care much about her childhood. Even though Fu's mother always talks about these things, he thinks it's nothing and just thinks of reminiscing about his childhood. But now, Fu's mother has become a slim and peerless beauty. Thinking back to what happened when she was a child, Su Yang naturally feels very embarrassed. Ali and Duan Qingsheng couldn't help laughing after hearing Su Furong's words. "Young master, Ximen Fenjiun really cannot be killed at this moment," Su Furong returned to the topic and said seriously. Su Yang came back to his senses, met Su Furong's gaze, and frowned. "Why? You just said that he saved the Kunlun Su family, so what happened?" "Why? It's a long story. I can't explain it myself, so I'd better let him tell you himself." Su Furong sighed, and then her eyes fell on Ximen Fenjiun. Her eyes were reddish, and there were tears in her eyes. She said hello with a slight cry, "Elder brother. Little junior sister." At this moment, Ximen Fenjiun had stood up. He was seriously injured and his face was pale. But facing Su Furong, he wiped away the blood stains on the corner of his mouth, forced a smile and said, "Remember that the last time we met was at the 100 sex martial arts competition more than 20 years ago. At that time, you led Su Shenbing and rose to prominence in the 100 Sex Martial Arts Association." Senior brother's memory is still fresh. Ximen Fenjiun was equally moved, as if there was sand in his eyes. "I didn't expect that more than 20 years would pass in the blink of an eye. How have you been doing in these years?" "Big brother, I'm fine." Su Furong showed a smile and said, "The last time we met, you and I didn't talk to each other in order to avoid suspicion. Senior brother, over the years, you have been burdened with a lot of infamy and have been despised by thousands of people. You have suffered. Haha, seeing that the great man in the sky and the master's arrangement have arrived as promised, my grievances are nothing." Ximen Fenjiun shook his head, then raised his head to look at the sky, and said solemnly, the one who really suffered is Master. He gave up the Void Tower for a bet. Now his life or death is uncertain, and he doesn't know where he is. Hey! Elder brother, Master Jiren has his own destiny, you don't have to worry, he will definitely return as a king. Su Furong continued, the young master wanted to kill you just now. Senior brother, why didn't you explain? No need. Ximen Fenjiun said very freely, things have already happened. No amount of talking can change the facts. My hands are indeed stained with the blood of the Su family. Now that the young master has come to seek revenge, I deserve to die. It's my turn to give an explanation to those undead souls, Ximen Fenjiun said freely and freely. No. Su Furong's mood fluctuated greatly. She gritted her teeth with red eyes and said, Elder brother, you had no choice but to do what happened back then. The death of those Su family members has nothing to do with you. Ximen Fenjiun still shook his head, not wanting to explain the matter, but looked at Su Yang and smiled softly. Su Yang, maybe you are starting to hesitate about whether to kill me or not. But I can tell you that I killed Su Zhanlong with my own hands, and so did Su King Ai. Ximen Fenjiun continued, now, you can kill me and avenge those people. Don't think so much. Su Yang looked at Ximen Fenjiun. He was confused at the moment. He couldn't figure out what happened that year. He could only look at Su Furong in confusion. Big brother. Since you refuse to say it, I have to say it. Now that the ancient martial arts revolution has been successfully launched, I have advanced to the late stage of martial arts, and there is no need to be afraid of those people anymore. Seeing that Ximen Fenjiun was so stubborn, Su Furong met Su Yang's gaze and said directly, young master, you must also know about the relationship between Ximen Fenjiun and your great-grandfather. Well, he is my great-grandfather's disciple. Su Yang nodded and said, having heard someone mention it before. Good. Su Furong nodded, and then said seriously, anyone among the 10 members of our sect may betray the master, but only senior brother Ximen Fenjiun will never do it. No one knows how good his relationship with master is. For master, he would rather give up his life. Su Furong continued, I remember one time, when the master came back from an outing, he was seriously injured and was dying. He needed nourishing essence and blood. Only the eldest brother was there at that time. It was the eldest brother who forced out a large amount of essence and blood from the body, and the master was able to save his life. But the eldest brother, whose body was depleted of essence and blood, is already dead. Su Furong continued, in order to save the master, he donated 90% of his blood essence and blood. Ordinary people know that this will inevitably lead to death, let alone an ancient warrior. Simply that powerful man arrived in time and spent a lot of effort to pull the senior brother back from the Hell Gate. Let me ask, how can a person who can die for the master betray the master? Su Furong laid the groundwork, then gritted her teeth and said, the reason why senior brother did this was completely forced and coerced by those ancient tribes. Ancient clan, Su Yang asked doubtfully, Fuma, are you talking about the top 10 ancient clans? Yes. Su Furong nodded and said, after master abandoned the Void Tower and disappeared, some of the 10 ancient clans couldn't hold it anymore and wanted to take Kunlun away. But they didn't dare to take action themselves, for fear that the master would come back to settle accounts with them, so they encouraged the major sects in the ancient martial arts world to come forward and destroy the Kunlun Su family. Su Furong continued, at that time, the ancient clan already had a restriction order and was not allowed to join the world for 100 years, but the influence of the ancient clan still exists. Those sects in the ancient martial arts world naturally have to obey the orders of the ancient clan. At that time, there were many strong men in the ancient martial arts world, and there were even peak land martial gods. But the 10 of us disciples join forces, but we are not afraid of the ancient martial arts world. Even if those guys from the ancient martial arts world come together, we are not afraid. At most, we will both lose. When Sukfurong said this, she paused, looked at Ximen Fengyun, and continued, but we know that the ancient martial arts world is just the vanguard of the ancient clan. Even if the invading areas are completely wiped out, there will be no surprise. If the ancient clan is cornered, they can send just one person to destroy Kunlun. Therefore, senior brother decided to put on a show and tell the world that he betrayed Master Suwazi and personally led the sects in the ancient martial arts world into the Kunlun mountains. Sukfurong said, it's very maneuverable if one of our own people takes the initiative. At that time, many people in the Suk family evacuated in advance. Those who stayed behind either really betrayed the Suk family, or they knew they would die but regarded death as home, and still chose to stay and sacrifice for the Suk family. Several of my senior brothers, Su Zhanlong, Su Qing'ai, Su Bufan, they all voluntarily died in the hands of the eldest brother. In the name of fulfilling the eldest brother's betrayal, they made everyone believe that the eldest brother really betrayed Kunlun. Sukfurong continued, there were three ancient clans that were concerned about Kunlun at the beginning, the Dongfang family, the Duanmu family, and the Xiahe family. These three ancient tribes are not in harmony with each other, and they will compete with each other. That's why, after the eldest brother captured Kunlun, they decided not to interfere in the management and let the eldest brother take charge of Kunlun. Sukfurong continued, it's just that they can enter and leave Kunlun mountain at will, and the items on Kunlun mountain can be used by these three families at will. In this way, the Kunlun Suk family became the Kunlun Ximen family. The eldest brother, Zhuzhan Magpie's Nest, protected Kunlun in another way. After saying all this, Sukfurong looked at Su Yang and said, young master, this is all I know. I see. Su Yang nodded, his eyes fell on Ximen Fengyun, his expression was slightly complicated. During this time, he was full of hatred for Ximen Fengyun and wished he could get rid of him quickly. But now, Su Yang learned that everything Ximen Fengyun did was for the Suk family. This made Su Yang feel a little guilty. He had been too arbitrary before. Ximen Fengyun, I have offended you many times before. I apologize to you and thank you for everything you have done for Kunlun. Su Yang was not one to be shy and expressed his apology directly. Young master, you're welcome. Ximen Fengyun was flattered and said with emotion, young master, I have been guarding Kunlun for more than 100 years. No one from the ancient clan has set foot in the important places in Kunlun mountain. Now that you are here, I will return Kunlun to you. Got it? Good. Su Yang agreed, then looked around at the corpses and said with a wry smile, I'm sorry, I didn't know the truth before and killed him by mistake. It doesn't matter. Ximen Fengyun smiled softly and said, these people are not my descendants, but are sent by the three ancient tribes of Dongfang, Duanmu, and Xiahe. It is not a pity to die. That's good. Su Yang breathed a sigh of relief, then thought of Ximen Huxiao of the Ximen family, and said, one more thing, a few days ago, I killed Ximen Huxiao at the 100 sex martial arts competition. That kid has already colluded with the people of the ancient tribe. If it weren't for fear of arousing suspicion, I would have killed him long ago. Ximen Fengyun continued, it is an honor for him to die in your hands now. Then, Ximen Longjian. Su Yang mentioned Ximen Longjian. Thump. When everyone was talking, Ximen Longjian was at the side, so he could naturally hear it clearly. After learning that his ancestor had never rebelled, Ximen Longjian panicked and knelt on the ground. Ancestor, I was wrong. I was so overwhelmed by the idea of reaching the sky that I did such a thing. Ximen Longjian kowtowed and begged, please, ancestor, for the sake of me being your only descendant, give me another chance. Why? Ximen Fengyun looked at Ximen Longjian, intending to kill this descendant with bad intentions. But then I thought that I had no successor, so I couldn't bear to take action. Ximen Fengyun, please be merciful. Let's talk about your Ximen family's family affairs later. Su Yang said, now I have a few questions that I would like to ask you about. Young master, please tell me, I will tell you everything I know, Ximen Fenjiun said. Su Yang nodded and asked directly, you just mentioned that my great-grandfather gave up the Void Tower for a bet. What on earth is going on? What bet? Young master, maybe you don't know that the reason why the Earth's cultivation system is in such a poor state is because there are a few big hands outside the territory that are controlling everything on the Earth. Ximen Fenjiun said truthfully, it turns out that the Earth has no power to fight back. However, more than 100 years ago, a great man came to the Earth with extraordinary skills, and he was not inferior to the great men from outside the world. For the sake of the stability and harmony of the Earth, the big shot in the sky reached a bet with the big shot from outside. Ximen Fenjiun fell into memories and continued, this bet is related to Master Suwazi. The content is whether Master can break the ominous situation and advance to the nascent soul realm with his own strength. A big shot in the sky, I can gamble with Master. The Earth's laws of heaven, which are ominous, were jointly created by the immortal emperors from outside the territory. They concluded that no one can advance to nascent soul without the help of external forces. Therefore, big gamblers from outside the territory are not allowed. The two parties have reached an agreement that the losing party will completely leave the Earth and never interfere with Earth affairs. Ximen Fenjiun said, in this way, Master left the Void Tower and disappeared alone. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 633. Su Yang had heard someone mention the matter of his great-grandfather Suwaji abandoning the Void Tower because of a bet, and only now did he know what the bet was. The three great immortal emperors jointly created the laws of heaven. Grandpa is just a cultivator starting from scratch. How can he compete with it without a valuable treasure? After Su Yang learned all this, he couldn't help but worry about Suwaji, and murmured to himself, only cultivators who have touched the threshold of the quasi-immortal emperor can compete with this kind of law of heaven. My great-grandfather has not even condensed the nascent soul into the realm of elixir formation, but he had to carry the bad luck back then to attack the nascent soul. How courageous this is! Su Yang sighed, I'm not as good as him. No one I know can compare to him. In addition, he uses one body and one soul to practice selfless skills. This kind of talent is beyond description. If my great-grandfather was born in the Xiantian star territory, he would definitely become the all-powerful immortal emperor and control the stars thousands of miles away. It's a pity that he lives under the rules jointly created by the three immortal emperors and is suppressed so that he cannot rise. Su Yang sighed again, silently feeling sorry for his great-grandpa, and at the same time worried about his current situation. I wonder what my great-grandfather is doing now. Is he really under Wudang Mountain? Then, when Lao Duwu told Su Yang the news, Su Yang was dubious. After pacifying Wudang Mountain, Su Yang couldn't wait to come to Kunlun Mountain. He didn't look for it in Wudang Mountain. It seemed that he had a chance to go to Wudang Mountain to explore. Why? At this time, Ximen Fenjiun sighed and said, Master, he is too confident. He is confident that he can carve out an invincible path and break the shackles set by the three immortal emperors. However, since the thunder tribulation of Master's attack on the nascent soul, he has disappeared. Besides him, that big shot also disappeared, and there was suddenly no news. Ximen Fenjiun guessed, so I guess that Master has failed and the bet has been lost. In this case, the great man in the sky is willing to admit defeat, so he has no choice but to leave the Earth and no longer interfere in the plans of the three immortal emperors. As for Master, he became a victim of the bet, and now, I'm afraid he is dead. Having said this, Ximen Fenjiun showed grief on his face, moved his eyes to look at Suwaji's spiritual tablet below, and said, "So, I set up a tablet for master. I miss him, so I came to pay my respects." Su Furong next to her heard this, tears welled up in her beautiful eyes, and she seemed to be sobbing. It can be seen that their feelings for Suwazi are all very strong. Ximen Fenjian, Fu Ma. At this time, Su Yang comforted him, "You don't have to worry, my great-grandfather is not dead." Really, Ximen Fenjian and Fu Ma looked at Su Yang in unison after hearing this. I'm sure. Su Yang nodded in response and then said, "Not only my great-grandfather, but also that great man in the sky may not have given up on the earth, but is protecting the earth in another way. Isn't it the best proof that Wudane Mountain can change the formations of the ancient martial arts world?" Su Yang continued, "In addition, that person also left behind a backup plan. The ominous situation created by the three immortal emperors will be completely lifted before long. At that time, all cultivators on earth will have the opportunity to form elixirs, and everyone will have the opportunity to step into the nascent soul, and no longer have to worry about being troubled by bad luck." The reason why Su Yang was so sure was because he already knew that the big man back then was himself. At first, Su Yang is still confused. If he really came to the earth more than 100 years ago, how could he be reborn in the body of Su Yang of the Su family? The immortal emperor from outside the territory cannot set foot on the earth with his peak combat power. Who can force him to give up everything and choose to be reborn when he is on the earth? But, after understanding the content of the bet back then, Su Yang suddenly realized, "I must have made a bet with the immortal emperor from outside the territory, but Suwaji failed to advance to the nascent soul. In the end, he failed to break the ominous suppression, and he lost completely. Therefore, the immortal emperor Xiantian disappeared and chose to be reborn 100 years later. In this way, he is no longer the Xiantian immortal emperor, but Su Yang of the Su family. He has perfectly avoided the bet back then and can protect the earth in an upright manner." "What, that big shot didn't leave?" Ximen Fenjian seemed to have been given a shot of cardiotonic, and he suddenly became excited and asked as if to confirm, "Young master, is what you said true?" "Nature." Su Yang showed a smile, and then said, "The future of the earth is promising. Those three extraterrestrial immortal emperors will pay the price sooner or later, believe me." "Good." Seeing Su Yang being so confident, Ximen Fenjian was instantly moved and very excited. "Okay, Ximen Fenjian, I have another question to ask you." Su Yang looked at Ximen Fenjian and said. "You ask?" Ximen Fenjian said respectfully. "You said that the three ancient tribes Dongfang, Duanmuo and Xiahe joined forces to plot against Kunlun." Su Yang frowned and asked in an indifferent tone, "What are they doing for this? Does my great-grandfather have a grudge against them, or do they want to seize the materials my great-grandfather collected?" "Both and none." Ximen Fenjian said seriously, "Young master, the 2 points you mentioned are only one aspect. The reason why the three ancient clans, Dongfang, Duanmuo and Xiahe, want to destroy the Kunlun Su family is mainly because they have been controlled by the immortal emperor from outside the territory." Ximen Fenjian continued, "Although my master failed to advance to nascent soul, his body was not found. The three foreign immortal emperors are still very jealous of my master and are afraid that he will grow up. In order to eradicate the roots, the three ancient tribes controlled by outsiders want to use the Kunlun Su family to force my master out and then kill him." Ximen Fenjian continued, "However, my master did not appear. After I occupied Kunlun, I did not really control Kunlun. The three ancient tribes sent many people to hide in Kunlun. Young master, those people you just killed were all the informants of the ancient clan." Ximen Fenjian smiled bitterly and said, "In addition, they introduced a woman to marry me in an attempt to control me. The grandfathers of Ximen Longjian and Ximen Huxiao were born to me and that woman. However, I had secretly dealt with that woman many years ago, Ximan Fengyun said ruthlessly, with a look of indifference on his face when he mentioned this matter. Ximan Longjian next to him had a slightly complicated expression when he heard this. He naturally understood the meaning of secret handling, but he didn't expect his ancestor to be so cruel that he could even deal with his first wife. Hey, people from outside the territory are not our own people after all. They are not of my race, and their hearts must be different. She has guessed my intentions and plans to report back to the ancient tribe, so she has to die, Ximan Fengyun said lightly. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 634. People from outside the territory. Su Yang heard this and asked, "Didn't you just say that she was pushed out by the ancient tribe? The ancient tribe is also one of their own, so why is she not my tribe?" "Young master, you don't know something." When Ximan Fengyun heard this, he explained, "The immortal emperor from outside the territory is plotting against the earth, and there is a protective formation outside the earth. It is very difficult for the three immortal emperors from outside the territory to enter the earth. I once heard that great man mentioned that the formation that protects the earth is so powerful that it transcends all things. Not even the immortal emperor from outside the realm can override it. Moreover, the stronger the person, the greater the resistance they will encounter if they want to force their way into the earth." Ximan Fengyun continued, "In comparison, it is easier for cultivators with lower realms to enter the earth, but it is also very difficult and full of dangers, with a narrow escape from death. Once upon a time, the immortal emperor from outside the territory used powerful means to arrange for 100 people from outside the territory to break into the earth. That day, the sky was dark and there was a celestial phenomenon of Tengu eclipsing the sun. The cultivators on the earth fell into panic. However, of the 100 foreign masters, 96 of them died in the guarding formation, with no bones left. The remaining 4 people successfully entered the earth without any danger, and retained the strength of the nascent soul realm, which shocked everyone." Ximan Fengyun continued, "This is what happened at the peak of my master Suwaji's life. After those 4 people came to earth, they began to search for the earth's treasures, and they committed all kinds of evil. Naturally, my master will not stand idly by. But my master, after all, has not yet fully risen. There is still a big gap between him and the nascent soul realm, so he was defeated." Ximan Fengyun changed his tone and said, "At the critical moment, that big man appeared and defeated 4 foreign Yuanyings with a raise of his hand. However, the great man in Tongtian did not kill him, because the situation at that time was not suitable for breaking up with the 3 foreign immortal emperors, so as not to anger the other party and end up in a situation of death and defeat." Ximan Fengyun said, "But the great man of Tongtian cut off the realm of 4 outer Yuanying with a wave of his hand, causing them to fall to the realm of forming pills. On earth, the realm of nascent soul is invincible, but the formation of pills is not. After the realm of those 4 people declines, my master alone can fight against the 4 of them, and even stabilize the opponent." Ximan Fengyun continued, "In this way, the situation stabilized. The 4 people from outside the territory started living on the earth, gradually integrated into the earth, combined with the people on the earth, spread their branches, and gave birth to many descendants with blood from outside the territory. The woman recommended to me by the Daegyu clan is one of them. These 4 people from outside the territory and the immortal emperor from outside the territory must be able to maintain contact through some means. In short, even if my master and the great man Tongtian disappeared, they did not mess around. Instead, they occupied the 3 ancient tribes of Dongfang, Duanmu, and Xiahe, and paid close attention to everything on the earth." Ximan Fengyun glanced at the light pillar representing the protective formation, squinted his eyes slightly and said, "Young master, to be honest with you, that light pillar leads directly to the natural formation that protects the earth. At this time, among the 4 foreign masters one person, just under that pillar of light." When Su Yang heard this, he immediately became wary and frowned. What is that person's current strength? More than 100 years ago, he was knocked down to the pinnacle of pill formation by a powerful figure in the sky. Ximen Fenjian responded, a few years after I took over Kunlun, he came over and has been sitting there practicing. After so many years, I don't know what realm he has entered. There were several times when I wanted to go over and find out what was going on, looking for an opportunity to get rid of him. But as soon as I got closer, he was discovered before I even saw him. Ximen Fenjian said fearfully, he seems to be there, setting up a formation, and he is very vigilant. That man's strength is indeed very strong. His aura is like the sea and unfathomable. Moreover, he seems to understand the formation. Under that beam of light, his strength will increase a lot and he will become more powerful. Ximen Fenjian continued, but fortunately, he has not come forward to interfere with me in these years, but only practices in seclusion. That's it? Su Yang also raised his head and looked at the light pillar, then looked at Ximen Fenjian, squinting his eyes slightly, as if he had guessed something. First, Ximen Fenjian's loyalty to the Su family is trustworthy. If he really wanted to harm Su Yang, there was no need to act in front of Su Yang. He could just invite the outsider to punish Su Yang. But Ximen Fenjian didn't do this, and took the initiative to propose that under the pillar of light, there was an outsider master at the peak of pill formation. The most important thing is that Ximen Fenjian behaved calmly and without any nervousness or fear. This is so strange. It stands to reason that since there is such a strong enemy on Kunlun Mountain, Ximen Fenjian should urge Su Yang to leave immediately when he sees young Master Su Yang. Why didn't Ximen Fenjian do this, but confidently answered Su Yang's doubts here? There should be only one possibility that can make Ximen Fenjian so confident. That is, Ximen Fenjian has a backup plan and can definitely deal with the person under the beam of light. As for why Ximen Fenjian didn't kill the person under the light pillar before, maybe he was afraid of disturbing the situation, or maybe he was wary of the opponent's formation. Therefore, he deliberately showed weakness and lost to Su Yang just now in order to draw out the foreign master. Maybe Ximen Fenjian was well prepared. Even if Su Yang killed me, he still faked my death to deceive the foreign master. And Su Yang is a descendant of Su Wuzi, and this identity is too sensitive. As long as Su Yang is here, the experts from outside the region will definitely not be able to sit still and will definitely step out of the light beam and come to see Su Yang. This is all Ximen Fenjian's plan, most likely to get rid of the foreign masters under the beam of light. Thinking of this, Su Yang looked at Ximen Fenjian again, and found that Ximen Fenjian was smiling at him. He should know that Su Yang already knew his goal. However, the two of them had a tacit understanding and no one talked about it. The peak of pill formation. When Su Furong next to her heard this, her expression suddenly changed, and she hurriedly said, I thought that after entering the late stage of Wuzun, I wouldn't have to be afraid of those people, but I didn't expect that Kunlun Mountain actually has the peak of pill formation. Elder brother, please take the young master and the others away quickly, I will cut off the queen, Su Furong said sternly. He. However, before Su Yang could speak, a cold laughter came from the remote teleportation system. Immediately afterwards, a middle-aged man wearing a purple and gold robe and a jade crown on his head came from under the beam of light. He was tall, with a handsome face. He shrunk to an inch, and his figure flashed quickly. In a few blinks, he appeared 5 meters away from Su Yang. This person had a ferocious smile on his face and said with a cold smile, It's too late to leave now. I am quite interested in the Void Tower. Descendants of the Su family, since they are here, please stay in the Void Tower. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 635. This man, wearing a purple and gold robe and a jade crown on his head, exudes a powerful aura. He just stood calmly like this, his robe moved automatically without any wind, and the space around him was buzzing. The peak of pill formation. This middle-aged man has suddenly reached the peak of Jidan, which is terrifying. Young master, leave quickly, I'll hold him back. At this time, Su Furong hurriedly stood in front of Su Yang, looking at the man in purple and gold robes warily. Although she knew that with her own strength, fighting this person would be like hitting a stone with an egg. But Su Furong still stood up and must protect the safety of the young master. The same is true for Ali standing next to Su Yang. He can transform into a nine-tailed fox at any time. Duan Qingsheng, Ximen Longjian, now serves as the master of Su Yang and signed a soul contract. If Su Yang dies, they will all die, so the two of them will naturally protect Su Yang. Fuma, Ari, and you too, don't be so nervous. Unexpectedly, Su Yang stood there confidently and smiled softly. You are just a peak pill-forming person, so there is nothing to be afraid of, right, Ximen Fenjian? Young master, please stop talking nonsense. I am the strongest here. Senior brother cannot even defeat you. Su Furong was saying something, but Ximen Fenjian was the first to laugh and said, haha, the young master has indeed noticed it. He is worthy of being the descendant of the master. Tell me what's going on, Su Yang asked with a smile. Young master, this middle-aged man wearing a purple and gold robe is named Lu Junting. Ximen Fenjian explained, he is one of the 4 great foreign masters I just mentioned. He came to Kunlun Mountain 100 years ago. He always sits under the pillar of light to practice and never goes out. When he first came to Earth, he was in the nascent soul realm. Ever since he was beheaded by a powerful figure in the sky, he has been at the peak of his core formation. Ximen Fenjian continued, to be honest, we at Kunlun Mountain can obliterate masters at this level. So, I had plans to kill him many years ago, but I was worried that it would attract 3 other foreign masters, so I never took action. Ximen Fenjian continued, but now, the ancient martial arts revolution has begun, and the world has changed drastically. The immortal emperor from outside the territory will definitely not stand idly by. There is no longer any talk of striking a grass to scare the snake, and we will kill Lu Junting. But he always stayed under the pillar of light. That pillar of light communicates with the natural formations that protect the earth and contains supreme power. Lu Junting also understands formations and has deployed many formations around him, so we had to give up. The corners of Ximen Fenjian's lips raised and he said, however, young master, not long ago, I noticed your aura and learned that you were coming to Wudain to seek revenge from me. So I designed it to let you kill me. Of course, I would just fake my death. I can fake my death. In this case, Lu Junting will relax his vigilance. In addition, as you are the descendant of the master, and you may have the treasure of the Void Tower left by the master, Lu Junting will inevitably be unable to bear it, so he walks out from under the beam of light. Ximen Fenjian moved his eyes to look at Lu Junting, and smiled coldly, as long as he comes out, there is no hope of going back alive. Ha ha ha, we in Kunlun are absolutely sure to kill him. I see. Su Yang nodded. What Ximen Fenjian said was similar to what he guessed. Ximen Fenjian, you are so good, you can even take advantage of me. Young master, isn't this a coincidence? Ximen Fenjian said with a hearty smile. Haha, when you say that, it's true. Then it depends on your performance. Su Yang smiled and was not angry because of it. Instead, he admired Ximen Fenjian's strategizing. Well, good, I will definitely live up to the young master's high expectations, Ximen Fenjian said respectfully. The conversation between Su Yang and Ximen Fenjian was not hidden, but said openly and openly. Lu Junting, the man in purple robe, naturally heard it and couldn't help but laugh to the sky. Haha, descendants of the Su family, Ximen Fenjian, are you kidding me? Lu Junting's eyes were full of disdain, and he sneered, you guys, Are you still trying to kill me? What a joke in the world. I am at the peak of my alchemy formation, which is considered to be the pinnacle of combat power on Earth today. If those hidden ancient inheritances cannot be revealed, no one can even think of killing me. Lu Junting said coldly, and those ancient inheritances are all afraid of the power of our immortal emperor. They have been hiding it thousands of years ago, and now they dare not show their faces. Even without the protection of the formation, who can kill me? You'll find out soon. Ximen Fenjian showed a sneer, then clapped his hands and said calmly, everyone, come out and start working. Whoosh! 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 The next moment, 3 figures suddenly shot over from 3 directions, surrounding Lu Junting. These 3 people all have middle-aged faces, and their auras are as powerful as Sufurong's. Late stage of elixir formation. These 3 people are all cultivators in the late stage of pill formation, and their strength is almost the same as Sufurong in the late stage of martial arts in the ancient martial arts system. All 3 of them were tall and imposing, with resolute and handsome faces. There was no expression on their faces, they just stared at Lu Junting. But then, they looked at Su Yang at the same time and said respectfully. Subordinate Su King Ai. Subordinate Su Zhanlong. Subordinate Su Bufan. I've met the young master. While talking, the 3 of them knelt down on one knee and saluted Su Yang. Their postures were very low and they were particularly respectful to Su Yang. Su King Ai, Su Zhanlong, Su Bufan, get up quickly. Su Yang silently recited the names of the 3 people, and suddenly realized, you are all my great-grandfather's disciples, you are not dead. Well, this was all planned by senior brother more than 100 years ago. We faked our own deaths to make the ancient tribe and experts from outside the region trust senior brother more. Su King Ai responded respectfully, not only are we not dead, master's other disciples are not dead, but they are hiding incognito and scattered in all directions, looking for master. No wonder. Su Yang smiled softly, and then asked curiously, your strength, shouldn't be the case. The earth has the laws of heaven and earth and cannot form pills. Why are you? Snort. This is also the question I want to ask. Lu Junting was a little flustered when he saw 3 late-stage pill-forming people suddenly appearing, but he was more confused and said, the ominous situation in the earth was arranged by the 3 immortal emperors together. Don't say I'm an earthling like you. Even if I come from outside the territory, I will still be troubled by the ominous things. More than 100 years ago, when the 4 of us came to Earth, we carried the magic weapon given by the immortal emperor, so that we could appear on Earth in the nascent soul realm. Lu Junting continued, but unfortunately, all the magic weapons of the 4 of us were destroyed by that person, and even our realm dropped to the peak of pill formation. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 636. Fortunately, we recovered the fragments of the magic weapon, and we can barely maintain the peak of the elixir formation without being persecuted by the ominous evil. Lu Junting continued, the earth is ominous. The higher the realm, the greater the pressure. The 4 of us could have restored the nascent soul realm long ago, but it is a pity that we dare not. Because once we return to the nascent soul realm, the magic weapon fragments we each possess will inevitably burst under the ominous pressure. By then, we will be troubled by the ominous situation, and we will have no choice but to leave the earth on the ancient road in the starry sky. We came with a mission and consumed a lot of resources. If we go back like this, we will definitely be punished by the immortal emperor. Lu Junting returned to the topic and said coldly, you 3, tell me honestly, why can you enter the late stage of pill formation? Stop talking nonsense, Su King Ai, Su Zhanlong, Su Bufan, take action. Little junior sister, you can go too. The late stage of Wuzun is equivalent to the late stage of pill formation. The four of you fight him head on, and I'll keep an eye on him to prevent him from escaping back under the beam of light. Ximen Fenjiun ignored Lu Junting and ordered coldly. Yes, senior brother. Su Furong, Su King Ai, Su Zhanlong, and Su Bufan heard the words and rushed towards Lu Junting from all sides without any hesitation. Snored. So what if the four pill formations are in the later stages? Quantity can never change quality. You are definitely no match for me. Lu Junting snorted coldly, then mobilized his spiritual energy and took the initiative to greet him. Boom. 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 Just like that, the five people started fighting in mid-air. The real energy and spiritual energy crisscrossed the scene, and the momentum was overwhelming. Many members of the Ximen family who were watching were affected, and their bodies were scattered all over the place. Since I took over the Kunlun Mountains, I have never recruited anyone. These people are all informants sent by the three ancient tribes, Dongfang, Duanmu, and Xiahe. They deserve to die. Ximen Fenjiun said in a calm tone, not taking the life and death of these people seriously. At this moment, Ximen Fenjiun's eyes fell on Su Yang, and he smiled softly. Young master, you must be curious, why are Su King Ai and the others able to set foot on the pill formation unscrupulously? Su Yang nodded, then smiled, and said, but now, I'm not curious anymore. As he said that, Su Yang's eyes fell in the air, and the doubts in his heart were lifted. Mid-air. Su King Ai, Su Zhanlong, and Su Bufan all used their weapons. These three weapons all exude powerful power and resist the ominous. And Su Yang was very familiar with the weapons of the three of them, because the weapons were fragments of the Void Tower. What Su King Ai is holding should be the 6th floor of the Void Tower, Su Zhanlong is on the 7th floor, and Su Bufan is on the 8th floor. Jun Wu is the only person in the Duanmu family who dares to stand up and protest. He does not want to be a queen who has left the country. He does not want to let the Duanmu family continue to sink. He wants to restore the glory of the Duanmu family in ancient times. I see. Ximen Fenjiun nodded and said, the 9th level is indeed with me. Since I decided not to hide anymore and let Su King Ai and the others show up, naturally I am no longer afraid of foreign masters and ancient tribes. Ximen Fenjiun, you must be more than simple, right? Are you hiding your strength? Where is the 9th floor of the Void Tower where you are? The Void Tower has 9 floors in total, plus a spire. After Su Yang heard this, he admired Jun Wu even more, but he didn't expect that this person was not a common man. Ximen Fenjiun continued, ever since I pretended to betray my master more than 100 years ago and occupied the Kunlun Mountains, we senior fellow apprentices have given up on the ancient martial arts system and switched to the cultivation system. Ximen Fenjiun said approvingly, Jun Wu is a man of integrity and does not succumb to outsiders. He is worthy of close friendship. When Master was at his peak, he collected a lot of resources. Before Kunlun Mountain was captured, I hid most of those resources, and the three ancient tribes only took out a small part. Young Master, in my duel with you just now, I suppressed most of my power. Now let me show you my true strength. As early as more than 100 years ago, 4 foreign masters, one became the head of the Dongfang family, one was the head of the Duanmu family, one was the head of the Xiahe family, and one came to Kunlun Mountain. Buzz. The 5th floor of the Void Tower is said to be under Bashan. Su Yang was in a hurry that day and forgot to check it, so he must be right. In an instant, a terrifying power burst out from his body and swept the entire place. Since then, the Duanmu family has been enslaved by the foreign masters. The entire family obeys the orders of the foreign masters. The female family members in the family are allowed to be enjoyed by the foreign masters. Ximen Fenjiun said truthfully, Jun Wu, your real name is Duanmu Wu. He comes from the Duanmu family, an ancient tribe, and is one of the three ancient tribes that have taken refuge outside the territory. Su Yang smiled softly, then looked at Ximan Fengyun, and continued, I suddenly remembered something. A few days ago, during the 100 sex martial arts competition, that Jun Wu was dismissive of others, but he was a little respectful to you. It seems that the young master recognizes him. However, the reason why Jun Wu fears me is not only because of my strength, but also because I have saved him. Haha, I can't hide it from the young master. But they can only ignore the ominousness of the realm of pill formation. After stepping into the nascent soul, the laws of heaven will be strengthened, and the ominous power will be extremely powerful. In addition, they cannot fully control the fragments of the void tower, so they can only advance to the realm of pill formation, and can no longer a step has been taken. Originally, the void tower in Su Yang's mind only had 3 floors. But yesterday, he got the 4th floor of the void tower from Millennium Killer. I got the news that day, went there secretly, and rescued him. Not only did I heal his injuries, but I also gave him some cultivation resources to help him break the golden elixir and become a second turn fake elixir. At this time, Ximan Fengyun showed a smile, followed by a stern look in his eyes. Previously, the spire of the void tower fell into the hands of Mount Imei and was used as an accessory for the lotus sword of Mount Imei, but it has been taken back by Su Yang. The spire is not included in the 9 floors, but it is still important. Now, the 6th level, the 7th level, and the 8th level appeared at the same time, and Su Yang was overjoyed. Our brothers and sisters used the resources of Kunlun Mountain to practice in seclusion. After hundreds of years, we finally achieved some achievements, Ximan Fengyun said with a smile. Huh? Have you ever met? Su Yang asked doubtfully. Good. Ximan Fengyun smiled and said, yes, it is because of the fragments of the void tower that the 3 of them were able to avoid being troubled by the ominous laws and set foot in the realm of pill formation. Ximan Fengyun continued, Jun Wu has made a lot of efforts for this, but the result is to no avail. Even he himself was almost wiped out by his own people. Ximan Fengyun gritted his teeth and said, even in order to please the experts from outside the region, they kidnapped beautiful women everywhere, causing anger and resentment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 637. The Peak of Pill Formation. Ximan Fengyun's strength is a small level higher than that of Su Qing'ai, Sujan, Long Subufan, and has already reached the peak of Danji. He alone can be as good as Lu Junting. Previously, Ximan Fengyun used the 9th floor of the Void Tower to hide his strength, so Su Yang didn't notice it. Not only him, Su Qing'ai, Su Zhanlong, Su Bufan, these 3 people are also like this. It stands to reason that they rely on the fragments of the Void Tower. Su Yang is the master of the Void Tower and can completely sense it. But the fragments of the Void Tower controlled by the 4 of them have separated from the original Void Tower. For now, each of these 4 levels of Void Tower fragments is a separate treasure. In addition, the 4 of them deliberately concealed themselves, and each of them was in the realm of pill formation, so it was normal for Su Yang not to notice. Lu Junting, you have stayed in Kunlun Mountain long enough, today is the day you die. After his strength was exposed, Ximan Fengyun's face was as dark as water, and his eyes showed terrifying murderous intent. He directly sacrificed himself from the 9th floor of the Void Tower and killed Lu Junting. You are so strong. Humph, the natives of the earth are all full of tricks. After feeling the power of Ximan Fengyun, Lu Junting was completely panicked. A flash of fear flashed in his eyes. He already wanted to give up and jump to leave. Stay. But how could Ximan Fengyun let him go? His palms were covered with golden light, and he patted down Lu Junting with a single move of the great merciful palm. Immediately afterwards, Ximen Fengxiu held the ninth floor of the Void Tower and joined the battle with overwhelming power. Su Qing'ai, Su Zhanlong, Su Bufan, and Su Furong all took action together to speed up the offensive. Damn it! Lu Junting couldn't help but curse, unable to resist at all, and while fighting, he moved closer to the light pillar formed by the natural formation. Over the years, he has been studying the natural formations that protect the earth. Although he has not figured out the reason, he has arranged several formations around the light pillar in his free time. There are defensive formations and offensive formations. That's why Lu Junting was eager to get over. Once he got close to the light pillar, he would activate the formation. By then, Lu Junting was confident that he could completely suppress the 5 Ximen Fenjiun people. Haha, Lu Junting, do you want to activate the formation and kill us with it? Ximen Fenjiun had a gloomy face and raised the corners of his mouth with a sneer. Do you think it's possible? I spent so much effort to lure you out, how could I possibly let you get close to the light pillar? Ximen Fenjiun sneered again and again, and then he held the ninth floor of the Void Tower and accelerated his offensive, suppressing Lu Junting and losing ground. So far, Lu Junting understood that he could no longer use those formations, so he used the fragments of the treasure in his hand to fight to the death with Ximen Fenjiun and others. Boom! 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 For a time, the aftermath of the battle raged in mid-air, and the fight between the 6 became more and more intense. Su Yang, Ali, Duan Qingsheng, and Ximen Longjian were watching from below. Among them, Uri has complicated eyes. The strength of Ximen Fenjiun and others further inspired Ali to be strong, and she secretly made up her mind to become stronger. Duan Qingsheng has nothing to say. He has been baptized by the golden light. With his current talent, as long as he is given time, he will soon be able to reach the peak of Martial Lord, and even have a chance to break through Martial Lord and reach the realm of Martial Saint. Not only him, but also the 10 people appointed by Su Yang, who had received gifts from the golden light, and whose talents had increased countless times compared to before, had no chance of becoming Martial Saints in the short term. Ancestor is actually at the pinnacle of pill formation. Su Yang secretly analyzed, coupled with Fu Ma who is in the late stage of Wuzun, even if Ximen Fenjiun doesn't take action, Lu Junting will return with hatred. I am a well-known formation master from outside the territory. Immortal Emperor Yanlong sent me here to study the origin of the natural formation that protects the earth. He wants me to crack it so that powerful people from outside the territory can enter without restraint. Earth. Lu Junting wanted to say something more, but unfortunately, before he could finish speaking, his body suddenly cracked like glass, turning into a mist of blood. But now, with Ximen Fenjiun's help, Ximen Fenjiun will definitely die within 200 rounds. Puff! With a muffled sound, Lu Junting's abdomen was pierced, and a hole the size of a fist appeared. Su Zhanlong was merciless and pursued the victory, his huge fist wrapped in majestic spiritual energy pouring down. Puff! Moreover, after the 9th level penetrated his chest, it turned back under Ximen Fenjiun's control. As for Ximen Fenjiun, they have been waiting for a long time, and now they are on the 9th floor of the Void Tower. After weighing the pros and cons, Ximen Longjian planned to please Su Yang, hoping to save his life. Immediately afterwards, the 9th floor of the Void Tower shuttled back and forth inside Lu Junting's body. In just 2 or 3 seconds, Lu Junting's body was already riddled with holes. If he had known this, he would never have chosen to betray his ancestor. Unfortunately, it was too late to regret. Lu Junting suddenly turned pale and quickly circulated his spiritual energy to seal his wounds. Su Qing'ai, Su Zhanlong, and Su Furong also did the same, surrounding Lu Junting from all directions. The bright red blood surged out instantly, red and coquettish, dyeing the ground red. Puff! The next moment, the fragments from the 9th floor of the Void Tower cut through the void and penetrated Lu Junting's chest in an instant. The four of us coming to Earth this time each have their own abilities. My strongest method is the formation. Subufan's face was as dark as water. He seized the gap, stepped forward quickly, and suddenly pulled off Lu Junting's arm. Things did develop as Su Yang said. Within 100 moves, Lu Junting was knocked to the ground by Su King Ai. With Su Yang's eyesight, he had already seen the final result of this fight. Ah! Whoosh! Su King Ai, Su Zhanlong, and Su Bufan, the three of them have fragments of the Void Tower, and their strength is much stronger than ordinary late-stage pill formation. Boom! You bitch, the outer territory is so big that it can't accommodate you. If you have to go to Earth, go to hell. If you are in my formation, if it is not suppressed by the laws of heaven, what are you? Ugh. I don't accept it. Lu Junting felt that his vitality was gradually disappearing, and said with regret on his face, no one can match my accomplishments in formations. Emperor Yanlong also wanted to show me some mercy, but now I have died in the hands of a bunch of ants like you. I hate it. Where to escape? As for Ximen Longjian, the more I see how powerful Ximen Fenjian is, the more I regret it. If it weren't for the instigation of you people from outside the territory, how could the Kunlun revolution have happened? The blood debt needs to be repaid with blood. Su Bufan casually threw away Lu Junting's arm, snorted coldly, and jumped after him. Lu Junting let out a scream, gritted his teeth and stared at Su Bufan, but he didn't dare to fight anymore, and rushed towards the light beam in the distance desperately. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 638. A Worthy Death. Seeing this, Su Furong said in a cold tone. Ximen Fenjian, Su King Ai, Su Zhanlong, and Su Bufan also put away the fragments of the Void Tower, released the fighting state, and slowly walked towards Su Yang. But at this moment, behind them, a golden ball of light suddenly took shape, flying high into the sky with lightning speed. He. You are in a state of remnant soul, and you still want to escape. Su Yang's consciousness was astonishing, and he naturally noticed it. A sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth, then he raised his right hand and said lightly, Han Bin. Buzz. In an instant, a terrifying suction force appeared out of thin air and was aimed at the golden ball of light in the high school. Ah! This golden ball of light was Lu Junting's soul. At this time, he was screaming and trying hard to compete with Su Yang. Lu Junting's true state is not the peak of pill formation. His strength before coming to Earth even surpassed nascent soul. Only after coming to the Earth, he was affected by the Earth's guardian formation, and only the nascent soul realm was retained. After that, he was slashed again by the great man in the sky, and he directly became the peak of Danji. Therefore, Lu Junting's soul power far exceeds the peak of ordinary pill formation. After he saw that he was no match for Ximen Fenjian and others, he figured out a way to escape. That is to give up this body, escape with the power of the soul, and then find a way to be reborn again in the future. However, Lu Junting never expected that Su Yang had already seen through his thoughts and had been waiting aside for a long time. Descendants of the Su family. At this time, Lu Junting saw his soul moving uncontrollably towards Su Yang. He was immediately frightened and said in his soul state, "You, what did you do to me? It's just a small way to capture your soul." Su Yang strengthened the strength of the soul restraint and said with a playful smile, "Don't worry, my keeping your soul is still useful. It won't make you lose your soul for the time being. You'd better come here honestly." Snort. I am outside the realm. I have already surpassed you anything. I am also a master of formations. My soul power is beyond ordinary people. You want to capture my soul? You are simply crazy. As Lu Junting was talking, he noticed that he was moving quickly towards Su Yang and would soon fall into Su Yang's hands. Therefore, Lu Junting stopped talking and hurriedly used his skills to compete with Su Yang. Haha, you won't be so arrogant soon. Su Yang raised the corners of his mouth, stared at Lu Junting's soul, and said with a stern look, "Give me, come here." Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Yang suddenly increased his intensity, and the suction force more than doubled. Ah! Lu Junting's soul finally couldn't hold on anymore and was sucked into Su Yang's palm. During this process, Lu Junting's soul was severely damaged and he passed out. "Let's go to the Void Tower to raise it first." Seeing this, Su Yang moved his mind and took Lu Junting's soul into the first floor of the Void Tower. Original. Su Yang could make Lu Junting lose his soul and completely disappear from this world. But he didn't do that. Instead, he left Lu Junting's soul behind and planned to ask for some useful information. If Lu Junting didn't say anything, Su Yang wouldn't mind using an inhumane method, searching for souls. Once soul search is used, Su Yang can view all Lu Junting's memories to understand the purpose of the immortal emperor from outside the territory. Before, Su Yang has never used soul search. It's not that he doesn't want to use it, but he doesn't have enough strength. Searching for souls is no small trick, and without a certain amount of spiritual energy support, it cannot be used at all. However, fortunately, Su Yang succeeded in building the foundation. Even so, Su Yang couldn't cross too many realms to search for the other party's soul. Forming pills is now Su Yang's limit. But the power of Lu Junting's soul far surpassed that of the Danji, and even surpassed the nascent soul, and Su Yang was helpless. Simply, there is a Void Tower in Su Yang. Within the Void Tower, Su Yang is invincible. Unless he can tear apart space with his bare hands, even nascent soul cannot break the Void Tower, let alone Su Yang. "Young master, I was careless and didn't notice Lu Junting's soul." At this time, 5 people from Ximan Fenjiun came over. Among them, Ximan Fenjiun looked at Su Yang and said respectfully, "Thank you for being there, otherwise I would have let him run away." "Don't blame yourself, you have done a good job," Su Yang said with a smile. "Yes." Ximan Fenjiun responded, and then suddenly remembered something, and said, "Just now Lu Junting mentioned the Yanlong Immortal Emperor. Hey, I think this Yanlong Immortal Emperor is one of the 3 great immortal emperors outside the territory. A little Lu Junting is already so troublesome. I wonder how many masters there are outside the territory, and how powerful the legendary immortal emperor is." At the end, Ximan Fenjiun sighed, stood aside and said no more. But Su Yang's expression stopped, and there was a strong killing intent in his eyes. Flame Dragon Immortal Emperor. In his last life, he entered the 9 Nether Hell not willingly, but was forced by several immortal emperors. This kind includes Yanlong Immortal Emperor. Immortal Emperor Yanlong is from the demon clan, not a human being, but he has a soft spot for Empress Qing Huang. Su Yang, on the other hand, was unclear about the Qing Huang Empress, so he angered the Flame Dragon Immortal Emperor. Immortal Emperor Yanlong became emperor relatively early, and after transforming into a long dragon, his combat power was even more frightening. Back then, he and several human immortal emperors launched a hunt for Su Yang. Su Yang fled into the 9 Nether Hells in a panic and was trapped for tens of thousands of years. During this period, Su Yang's spiritual power was devoured bit by the 9 Nether Hells, leaving him extremely weak. Rather than being tortured to death like this, it would be better to fight vigorously. In the end, Su Yang chose to self-destruct and wiped out the 9 Nether Hell. Unexpectedly, the soul will be reborn through reincarnation, and he has also obtained the 9 Nether prison suppressing art that all cultivators dream of. Perhaps this is a blessing in disguise. However, Su Yang will keep Immortal Emperor Yanlong and his followers in mind and will not let any of them go. Haha, Yanlong Immortal Emperor, I didn't expect that you are one of the 3 immortal emperors who are plotting against the earth. Su Yang squinted his eyes slightly, with murderous intent in his eyes. Very good, Immortal Emperor Yanlong, in this life, I will pluck off your scales piece by piece and make you crawl under my feet, squirming like a bed bug. Ali, Duan Qingsheng, Ximen Longjian, Ximen Fenjian and others saw Su Yang so angry for the first time. Although I don't know why, no one dared to ask. Su Qing'ai, Su Zhanlong, and Su Bufan can now clean up the garbage. All people in Kunlun Mountain who have anything to do with outside the territory will be wiped out. From today on, Kunlun Mountain is back under the control of the Su family. No one is allowed to come even half a step closer without permission. Otherwise, they will be killed without mercy. Su Yang came back to his senses and said calmly, Ximen Fenjian, take me into Kunlun. I want to take a look, the ancient road in the starry sky. At the same time, in the boundless void, looking up, there are billions of dazzling stars. Xiantian immortal emperor, you, finally appeared. At this time, a man sitting cross-legged in the void suddenly opened his eyes, a sneer raised at the corner of his mouth, and two auroras instantly penetrated the vast sky. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 639. The Other Side. Kunlun Mountains. Su Qing'ai, Su Zhanlong, and Su Bufan have been ordered to launch a large-scale purge of Kunlun Mountain. For more than 100 years, outsiders thought that Ximen Fenjian controlled Kunlun. But in fact, Ximen Fenjian's voice in Kunlun is not high. Those who really control Kunlun are Dongfang, Duan Muo, and Xiahe, the three ancient clans. Ximen Fenjian has always been cautious, walking on thin ice, hibernating in the Kunlun Mountains, never cultivating his own strength, because he does not trust anyone. Therefore, in the entire Kunlun Mountains, except for Su Qing'ai, Su Zhanlong, and Su Bufan, the three fellow disciples, there is no one from Ximen Fenjian. Even his biological son and grandson, he didn't say much. There is no way, Ximen Fenjian's favorite woman is MRSG, but unfortunately she has been killed by the ancient tribe, and MRSG did not leave him a son and a half. The only woman who gave birth to a son for Ximen Fenjian was the woman pushed over by the ancient clan. That woman has half of the blood from outside the territory in her body. Ximen Fenjian can't believe it. Also, Ximen Fenjian can't believe her bloodline. So, for Ximen Fenjian, Ximen Huxiao and Ximen Longjian are not their own. Even if they have their own blood in their bodies, they are still not worthy of trust. Ximen Huxiao is a man who does all kinds of evil and has bad deeds. He often rapes women and leaves them with no bones afterwards. Ximen Fenjian had long wanted to destroy Ximen Huxiao, but there were people in the ancient clan who protected him, so he didn't take action. This is why, after Su Yang killed Ximen Huxiao in public, Ximen Fenjian only acted angry and did not actually take action. As for Ximen Longjian, Ximen Fenjian has always been very optimistic about this descendant. He feels that he has practiced hard, is mature and stable, and knows how to be patient. Ximen Longjian deliberately pretended to like Lan Miaoi and pretended to be crazy about her. The purpose was to create a weak spot so that the great talents would look down on him. Ximen Fenjian knew this and gave Ximen Longjian a lot of points. But Ximen Fenjian never expected that the descendant he was more optimistic about would turn out to be a villain who betrayed his ancestors. All in all, on Kunlun Mountain, there is almost no influence from Ximen Fenjian, and they are all infiltrated by people from the three ancient tribes. However, some of the servants responsible for cleaning, washing and cooking were not from the ancient tribe, but nearby residents. Therefore, Su Qing'ai and three others took action and slaughtered most of Kunlun Mountain, leaving only a few ordinary people to ensure the normal operation of Kunlun Mountain. As for Ximen Longjian, his strength was sealed by Su Yang with a thought, and Duan Qingsheng took him away and locked him up. After the entrance, there is the ancient starry sky road. Looking up, there are bright stars inside, like a small universe. But don't forget, Su Yang is Ximen Longjian's master, and the two signed a soul contract. Not to mention Ximen Longjian is a martial lord. Even if he becomes a martial saint or a martial god, he will still be restricted by Su Yang. A thought can make him crawl to the ground, and naturally his strength can be sealed. Su Yang heard this and immediately sneered, "It's a joke. The law of the jungle is the eternal law of the world of cultivation. But since I took over, I have a record of everyone who comes here and wants to walk on the ancient road to the stars. 87, no, a total of 88. Ximen Fenjiun introduced, "Yes, this is the starry sky ancient road. Once you step on it, you can go outside the territory." Ximen Fenjiun is a hero and loyal minister of the Su family, and Ximen Longjian is his only descendant. Su Yang thought about it and decided to deal with Ximen Longjian again to prevent the old minister from dying. Su Yang went on to say, "The cultivators on the earth who have traveled through the ancient starry sky to the outside world are only in the realm of alchemy and have no one to rely on. In their eyes, they are just fish and meat on the chopping board. All that is waiting for them is to be slaughtered by others. It's your job to be a guest, what a joke. Now, the aura outside the territory is rich, cultivation is prevalent, and most people with talent in Yuban will receive good teachings from childhood, and their realm will rise steadily." "Not sure." Su Yang stood under the beam of light and looked up. Ximen Fenjiun shook his head and said, "Before I took over Kunlun, I don't know how many people stepped on the ancient road of the starry sky. Ximen Longjian has stepped into the martial master realm, which is comparable to the pill formation. In a real fight, Su Yang is no match for him, let alone Yinian's sealing strength." Ximen Fenjiun took a deep breath, forced out a smile, and then said, "That person is MRSG. Original. After Ximen Longjian has no use value, then kill it to avoid future troubles. Haha, it's been so long, what can't be said? Earth's cultivators are treated as guests." When Su Yang heard this, he showed a curious expression and asked, "You look very sad. What's going on? Who is that person? Is it convenient for you to tell me? If it's not convenient, forget it." Su Yang planned to use Ximen Longjian to kill all the major sects that besieged Kunlun back then, or at least kill all the people who took action back then. Ximen Fenjiun seemed to have thought of something sad. He sighed and said sadly, "There are 87 people recorded in the book. There is one person who I put into the starry sky ancient road and was not registered. Also, our Earth's spiritual energy is exhausted, and there are only some low-grade spiritual stones. Outside the territory, there are medium-grade spiritual stones, high-grade spiritual stones, and even top-grade spiritual stones, which are helpful for cultivation. But now, after learning that Ximen Fenjiun endured humiliation and suffered 100 years of infamy for the sake of the Su family, Su Yang gave up this idea. This star-studded beam of light, with no end visible to the naked eye, penetrates the sea of clouds and reaches straight into the 9 heavens. As far as I know, outside the realm where real cultivation is prevalent, there are cultivators who break the golden elixir and condense the nascent soul when they are less than 100 years old, and there are people who are within 1,000 years old who refine their chi and concentrate their spirit to become gods. Ximen Fenjiun, it has been thousands of years since the starry sky ancient road appeared. After so many years, how many of them have gone outside the territory?" Su Yang suddenly asked curiously. Su Yang, Ali, and Su Furong, led by Ximen Fenjiun, came all the way to the entrance of the starry sky ancient road. "Is this the starry sky ancient road? It is said that there is a vaster world outside the territory. There is no omen there. All cultivators will not suffer any torture after forming elixirs. It is a paradise for cultivators." Ximen Fenjiun continued, "Cultivators on earth are half believed in these remarks from outside, but there are still some people who can't stand the temptation, so they step onto the ancient Starry Sky Road and go outside the territory. At the bottom, there is an entrance, 3 meters high and less than 2 meters wide, which can accommodate one person at a time. Young Master. Ximen Fengyun continued, there are rumors outside that those who are cultivators of alchemy will receive great attention when they go outside the territory. They will be treated as guests by the families and sects there, thereby obtaining inexhaustible resources. Breakthroughs are like drinking. It's as simple as water. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 640. When I was out that year, the 3 ancient tribes sent people to Kunlun and secretly beat MRSG into serious injuries. Mentioning this matter, Ximen Fengyun's eyes were filled with overwhelming anger, and he gritted his teeth and said, originally, they could kill Madame Qi, but they didn't. They deliberately left Madame Qi breathing, hoping to wait for me to come back. I witnessed with my own eyes that MRSG's breath disappeared little by little. Their purpose is not to kill MRSG, but to beat me. Ximen Fengyun's eyes flashed with tears, and he continued, and when I return, MRSG is already dying and there is no way to save her. She knew the purpose of those people, but she had to fulfill their wishes because, MRSG wanted to see me one last time. Recalling the past, Ximen Fengyun was extremely sad and said in frustration, just as they thought, even if I tried all my means and used all the treasures of elixirs collected by Master in Kunlun, I still can't save MRSG. Ximen Fengyun sighed and said, in the end, MRSG didn't want me to watch her die with my own eyes, so she asked me to take her to the Starry Sky Ancient Road. In the end, she entered the ancient Starry Sky Road and was completely separated from me. Ximen Fengyun took a deep breath, tried his best to control his tears, and said after regaining his composure, decades have passed, and the once alluring face must have turned into a pink skeleton. Perhaps, this is her destiny. I'm sorry to remind you of sad things, Su Yang comforted after hearing the whole story. The young master is out of town, I have let him go. Ximen Fengyun paused for a moment, then looked at the Starry Sky Ancient Road, and said with deep eyes, after I finish dealing with the matter here, I will set foot on the Starry Sky Ancient Road to find MRSG. Even if it's just a skeleton, I will bring her back, and the fallen leaves will return to their roots. It can be seen that Ximen Fengyun has a very deep love for MRSG. Even after decades, I still remember it. Condolences. In this regard, Su Yang could only comfort him, and then changed the subject and asked, do you know where this ancient road in the starry sky will eventually lead? I don't know. Ximen Fengyun shook his head, and then said, in the past 100 years, I have sent away more than 80 cultivators, and none of them have come back. But many years ago, there were cultivators from Earth who returned from outside the territory and their strength was indeed enhanced a lot. Ximen Fengyun continued, there are rumors that there is a strong man on Earth known as the Blood Demon who stepped into the ancient road of the starry sky. When he came back again, he was already a quasi-emperor strong man. However, this happened many years ago. Later, the Blood Demon also disappeared. There is no way to verify the authenticity of this matter. Ximen Fengyun continued, some people say that the Blood Demon was originally a figure from the Qi practitioner period of the pre-Qin dynasty. When the immortal emperor from the outer territory approached with the space gate, he tried to take him outside the territory. However, the Blood Demon is hiding. He is not weak in strength. When the immortal emperor from outside the territory came to Earth, he was unable to exert his full power. Therefore, it was quite difficult and he was not found. But later, the immortal emperor from outside the territory found the Blood Demon's close relatives, and in a rage, he slaughtered all the Blood Demons. When the Blood Demon learned about this, he became angry and started a war with the immortal emperor from outside the territory. At that time, he was not yet the quasi-emperor, and his strength was far from that of the immortal emperor from outside the territory. The place where the two of them fought was right here. Ximen Fengyun pointed at his feet, and then said, in the end, the blood demon was defeated miserably. Just when the immortal emperor from the outer territory wanted to kill him, he stepped into the ancient road of the starry sky. The immortal emperor from the outer territory thought that he obeyed his own arrangements. Coupled with the mystery of the starry sky ancient road, we did not continue to pursue it. Who would have known that a few years later, the blood demon would return with a quasi-immortal emperor's strength that was no weaker than that of the foreign immortal emperor on earth. In that battle, the sky was dark and the earth was dark, and the earth was shaking. Originally, the alien emperor planned to stay and guard the earth, hold the gate of space, and continue to search for the powerful people hidden in the earth. Ximen Fengyun said, because the extraterritorial immortal emperor's visit to the earth once consumes extremely huge resources, so he is not willing to leave easily. But in that battle, he was forced out of the earth by the blood demon, and he was considered to have escaped. The blood demon himself died on the spot due to his extreme sublimation, and his body was left at the place where the two of them fought, Wuodane Mountain. However, some people have seen that the soul of the blood demon has not been wiped out. It seems to have survived. What happened next is unknown. Ximen Fengyun looked at Su Yang and continued, young master, your grandfather Shi Hehan has informed me of what happened on Wuodane Mountain. I have always been unsure whether this rumor is true or not, but now it seems that it may be true. That blood demon is, not surprisingly, the person who left Wuodane Mountain in a powerful body yesterday. Su Yang nodded and agreed with this guess. Because many of what Ximen Fengyun just said is consistent with Su Mo's story. I just didn't expect that Su Mo was actually a strong man from the earth who returned from the ancient road in the starry sky. About the starry sky ancient road, you can ask Su Mo if you have the opportunity. After making up his mind, Su Yang suddenly remembered something and asked, Ximen Fengyun, are you with my grandpa? Haha, the two of us are close friends. I have already told him some of my plans. Ximen Fengyun smiled softly and said, the tit-for-tat confrontation you saw is just acting. I see. Su Yang smiled, nodded as if understanding, and then said, let's go to the other side. I want to take a look at the natural formation that protects the earth. Good. Ximen Fengyun nodded, and then the group left the area. At this moment, in the west of the earth, in the ice and snow, Su Mo sat cross-legged, surrounded by spiritual light, exuding terrifying power. The position where he sat should be the center of a formation, with majestic power pouring into his body continuously. Soon, Su Mo opened his eyes were very sharp, as if he could penetrate the void. When the great man in the sky took me into the void tower, he gave me the coordinates and told me to come here after I was reborn, saying that this place could restore me to my peak. Su Mo murmured to himself, I was hesitant to believe it at the time, but I didn't expect it to be true. Senior, you will never deceive me. With the help of this formation, I will definitely be able to return to the quasi-emperor realm within half a year, ha ha ha. Excited, Su Mo looked around at the formations and couldn't help but sigh, the earth's spiritual energy is exhausted, but seniors can use the mountains and terrain to gradually accumulate such majestic spiritual energy to replenish energy. This formation, it's really a miraculous workmanship, I'm afraid no one can match the senior's attainments in formations. It's no wonder he didn't tell me this location directly back then. Without the accumulation of more than 100 years, this formation wouldn't be able to be activated at all. After saying that, Su Mo raised his head, looked up at the sky, and murmured, Senior, who are you and where have you been now? Could it be that you really gave up on the earth completely because of the bet you made back then?